Hello everyone, welcome to Lush and Salty Aquariums. My name is Stefan. Thank you for coming to my channel. All right, in front of a lot of you all's favorite tank, this is a 20-gallon lushly planted rimless aquarium by Awaze. But, I don't know if I'm gonna get to the tech because the natural stuff is just mind-blowing. Now there is an issue, like it's a sort of a high-class problem. I know a year or two ago I'd love to have this problem, but I'll cover that and some other stuff. But right now, like you in real time, for whatever reason, the aquarium is just blasting me with good vibes. Now, I believe this tank has had a major trim since the last time I filmed a video in front of it. So that's, if you're keeping score, that's new news. But one of the things that just is remarkable and a long time coming is how much the fish are active and in front in this aquascape. Now, granted, the mega trim I gave it absolutely must have helped. What I mean by that is this carpet, for the first time in nearly 3 years, I literally pulled it up like wall-to-wall carpeting, pulled apart all the plants, and only put way less than half of them back in, way less. And that's where the high-class problem comes in, so I'll just cover it now. You see that? That's either a subulata, a microsword, very common plant that I love to use for a carpet in lieu of having the more traditional carpeting plants like Monte Carlo or dwarf hairgrass, which are just a whole lot harder to maintain, let alone to get grow in the first place. But these, even in a lower tech tank than this one, and there's no way by any definition could this be considered low tech, but even in a much more organic setup, this particular plant and its brethren, it's like plants, do really well, for people, and you don't have to deal with so many of the problems that you might get with a more exotic ground cover. And yeah, I think Monte Carlo and dwarf hairgrass are far from being no-brainers. There's no way I would classify them as a beginner plant. But I don't think I have any more dwarf hairgrass in this aquarium. That was the original primary foreground plant, but this microsword took over, then it became dominant, and it was so dominant I had to give it that massive trim that I have been talking about. Let's move to livestock for a minute. How about this wonderful snow white longfin plecostomus? Look at that. Oh, what an angel. Actually able to hold its own amidst the newly refurbished group of longfin albino Coreodoras. Now, I told you a while back that I got rid of the stunners that were the first stars and starlets of this fish tank to try and have a friend breed them. And I think that's going good. He said there was a clutch, but I haven't talked to him in a minute. But after that, I searched all over and finally found a fish seller relatively close to me who hooked me up with another dozen or so of these. Now, I didn't put all 12 in here. I did put some in another tank. But overall, the group must be about, I don't know, anywhere from 8 to 10 individuals in this aquarium. Now, they've always been far from shy. So what I meant by a long time coming was the other fish in this tank. Look at those white fin tetras. It's a kind of rosy tetra. There's so many in that general order that it's hard to nail an exact name. These were sold, at least some of them, to me as whitefin tetras, others as rosy tetras. Look at the difference in their dorsals. Could be a different fish actually, but they're happy together, and I'm seeing them all, and they're awesome. In addition, you can see some of the pencilfish, the Bexford pencilfish, cavorting about. And the plants, oh my gosh. That red purple tinged Hygrophila, I think it's Arugii, the Anubias, Bucephalandra, more Bucephalandra, and then a little Blixa japonica in the back. Now those plants have always done well for me in here, and it wasn't, I mean, when I did that mega trim, I really went hard at them. Believe it or not, they're still, I mean, it was a week ago, and plants recover quickly, especially in a established and thriving system. But be that as it may, I mean, I removed half of that side and half of this side of that plant. I cut a whole bunch of pieces from the Bucephalandra and the Anubias. Obviously, I trimmed the Rotala up there, the Atra. I mean, I do that every couple of weeks, basically, and almost the same with the Super Red Mini back there. And then I really hacked down the Pogostem and Octopus, the plant on the far left. I'll raise my sorry ass from the cushion so you can get a better look at some of these plants I'm talking about. Look at the Hydrocolta Japan, that's what I call it. On either side of this aquarium, I've got a thriving clump on one of those magnetic plant holders that I rant and rave about. You can print them on demand, or if you're like me, on Etsy or eBay, they're really cheap, all different sizes. I mean, look what you can do beyond what they say you should do, which usually involves pothos. You can do this with Monte Carlo, moss. I do this with moss. And that aeration and the flow all around it, closer to the light, it's just magical. You put that plant in your system, sometimes it'll thrive and take over, sometimes it'll struggle, it'll get leggy. I've never had any of those issues when I use these contraptions for the plants I've just mentioned, and that includes a lot of different mosses. And as I said, Monte Carlo. What else have I put in there? I said flame moss, willow moss, Monte Carlo. This is the Hydrocolta Japan. And there's another obvious plant I've used up there. I just can't think of it right now. Maybe you can think of one of your own that would work in that use case. I've got a piece of Brazilian pennywort. Tend to keep a strand in a lot of my tanks. It doubles in size under these lights and conditions, and I just cut it in half, gather those, and every couple weeks I bring a pretty good bunch of them into my LFS, and he's happy to have them. They sell well, and he likes that I've grown them in optimal conditions, because a lot of times you see this plant in the stores and it looks, it just overall looks crummier. So with those white roots, big clean leaves, no algae, a firm stalk as opposed to just half melty, this is as good as that plant gets, and the fish keeper knows it. And anytime I could bring in Bucephalandra or something like Hygrophila. Actually, let me be honest. This plant, he says, is so advanced that his average customer doesn't appreciate them for what they are and doesn't want to pay a premium. And I don't blame him. In the store, if I'm a novice, that's just not where I would go first. And if I was owning the LFS, I would tell a novice that's not where you want to go first. I'm going to have to do a video about plants that I think are deemed easy, but in fact are not. I think that would be a great subject. And I can speak from experience. Look at that Bucephalandra, the flower. Isn't that great? This other flower is either on its way out, I think, is what's happening there. But so much fun when plants flower in your aquarium. It's fun when they plant outside of your aquarium, when they flower outside of your aquarium, like something might in this one. But, and that can be a rare occurrence too, speaking frankly. But there's just something more magical about a flower underwater, however common it might be. In your aquarium, it just seems so uncommon, like magical, right? I'm nerding out on this Bucephalandra flower. Oh, it's hard to believe in the schoolyards of Chicago when I was a tween that I would ever imagine myself, a grown-ass man, crying tears of joy over a flower in his fish tank. What a nerd. That's me in a nutshell. But yeah, the activity, and I shouldn't forget the honey gourami, while never as reclusive as some of the other fish, there he is. There are other Coreodora in here. There's a gold tetra right there, or a brass tetra. That's a beautiful shot. Now, since I'm being so honest, not all the fish are on board with the center stage routine. They still want to remain in the background, like these brass tetras, and like whatever is left of my school of green neon tetras. I don't see one right now, but they're not all perished in the back. They're in the back. They're just still super elusive, and that's a dense forest right now. Not that this fish tank couldn't handle it, but I'm trying to think. I don't recall the last time I pulled or found a dead animal in this aquarium, so that's a good thing. But this aquarium could handle it. I wouldn't notice half the time because these plants and the ecosystem is high energy, so it's metabolizing faster than some of the dirted aquariums with mid-light. Not that those aren't like going nuts in their own way, but high-tech aquariums, and this one in particular with a profound RGB light, super strong, a really good filter, CO2 calibrated, the right temperature, and just me giving an incredible shit about what's transpiring in this system, all my aquariums, and I'm sure you feel the same way. And there's a nice wide shot. I get, you walk away from the aquarium and the fish are even happier for it. Except, a lot of times it's the opposite, because they have associated us with being bringers of food. So sometimes that doesn't ring true, but like Murphy's Law, as soon as you start filming, everything scatters. The shot you really, really wanted. Like Murphy's Law would be, I want to do a video about this flower, and as soon as I get on it, it were to fall off, right? Although that might be interesting if it happened in real time, but I think you get where the comparison I'm trying to make. So I'm being silly, holding up the fort here with my trusty dog Elmo. Wife is visiting our daughter out of state. So it's me, the fish, and you. And with that, I thank you for it. Always keep your hands in the tank, albeit carefully, and ciao for now.